Hi, I'm Sean McGowan for Acoustic Guitar. In this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at Franz Gruber's holiday classic, Silent Night. This song is short and sweet, and obviously a classic. Everybody knows this song. So I decided not to tamper too much with the melody in this arrangement. After a very short intro, which I just played to set up the song, set up the refrain, we immediately jump right into the verse, which in this arrangement is set in the key of A major. And this song is mostly just three chords. The A chord, the E7 chord, and then occasionally the 4 chord, which is D. So from a textural standpoint, just tried to arrange this maybe more like a traditional classical guitar piece, or maybe like a little string trio or string quartet in terms of the moving lines underneath the sustained melody. So the challenge in this piece is sometimes you're playing sort of your standard grip chords in terms of this A, and maybe this E is a little not so traditional, but it's coming out of an E7 like this or E9. But the challenge in this is to really make those melody notes sing out above the bass and have those sustaining while the bass is doing its own part underneath it, and that's what keeps the momentum and the melody and the rhythm going. This is in 3/4 time. It's a little slower, so it's important to have kind of those moving quarter note or eighth note bass line fills here and there to keep the tempo from dragging too much. So, for example, if we take a look at measures 9 through measures 11 and 12, we have this bass line movement. So here's measure 9. So there's an example of where you want to have those two melody notes sustaining, the C sharp and the E, over the A, and then have that little, counterline fill in there. So again, that's sustained. And of course you have to let the C sharp go, but if you can get the E, the high open E string to ring, that will help out a lot. And that's partly why I set this in the key of A, so you do have the advantage of that open E ringing. And so from a technique standpoint, with your fretting hand, looking back at measure 9 again, I'm playing the open triad of E, but I'm also allowing the B string to be unplayed so I can play that counter line on the open B underneath it. So my hands are sort of open like this so that I'm not smothering that B string. And again, we're sustaining that G sharp melody note with the pinky. And there's the bass note. It's just playing a very simple arpeggio underneath it. But it helps keep the tempo moving along while the melody is sustained with that simple A in the treble. So we have this now. And then we have that same type of movement from measures 14 through 17, the same type of thing. So you just want to make sure to articulate the bass line and the counter lines very clearly and evenly while the melody notes sustain. So for example, here's measure 17. Little lines like that. It's very subtle, but if you can mute when you need to with the picking hand, just simply by dampening the strings, and also let notes ring and sustain with both hands, then that will create the illusion of two parts playing independently as opposed to just kind of a, like a strummed solo arrangement of this song. Finally, we have this beautiful sharp 4 half diminished chord, which is usually played at before the very end. In this case, it's a D sharp half diminished. So since that's such a pivotal moment in the song, I decided to add a little tag on the second ending. The song is just played twice through, and the second ending features a little tag that's centered around that sharp 4 half diminished chord and the 6th chord, which is F sharp minor 7. So we're essentially unfolding that chord, adding a new extension each time. So the first time it's, and then resolves down a half step to the 4 major 7th. And then after a little fill, we finish it off with a 2-5-1 in the home key of A. And this song ends with a really nice simple A6-9 chord. It's kind of a Western chord. And then if you'd like, you can add some artificial harmonic flourishes at the end. And this technique, all I'm doing is simply fretting the notes on the 4th, 2nd frets on the 2 high strings, and then outlining those harmonics on the 16th and then 14th frets, respectively, on the G, B, and E strings. So if you play the chord, let it sustain with the left hand and with the picking hand. And that just adds a nice little closure to the song. So here's Silent Night. And that was Silent Night. Happy holidays. I'm Sean McGowan for Acoustic Guitar.